minute. Okay, it's 2:01, so we're going to get started. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our first Career Transition Services information session today. My name is Jennifer Pacifico, and I am leading the Career Transition Services team with my counterparts, Stephanie Elwood and Beverly Josiah. I want to start by saying that we understand that you are all going through a very difficult time right now with a lot of changes and things are happening very quickly. So we do recognize the difficult position that you are in, and we developed a variety of career transition services, which include a series of information sessions to help you navigate through this process. This session is the first of the series, and today we will be discussing benefits. In the future, we will address navigating your employment rights, specifically related to ICTAP, CTAP, RPL, job search strategies, and even federal resume tips. Our plan is to continue offering these on a rolling basis monthly during this time. And also, all of these sessions will be advertised through your GSA email, and we will continue to use the same live stream link. Look out for more emails related to the upcoming trainings available. I also want to mention that we invite any suggestions that you could have for us during this time. If you have any recommendations, any sort of feedback you want to provide, any sort of information sessions that you're looking for, you can email myself, Jennifer Pacifico, or Stephanie Elwood directly, and we'll be looking out for those emails. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie for a few more updates.
Thanks, Jen. I just wanted to give a few contact email addresses for anyone who may not have them handy. There are several different inboxes for different questions, so I wanted to read them aloud so that you can send your questions to the correct recipients. For employees impacted by RIF and specific questions regarding your personal RIF situation, the email is rif@gsa.gov. In this session today, it's being recorded, so it would not be appropriate to ask specific personal questions in the chat, as others can read it and others can see it after the recording is over. So please save personal questions for the RIF inbox. As we know, we have, this Friday is the deadline for opting into the Deferred Resignation Program, or VRVSIP. There are inboxes for those as well. For the Deferred Resignation Program, the email is spelled out all the way, Deferred Resignation Program @gsa.gov. VRVSIP is vera.vsip@gsa.gov. And for those who are going through the process of offboarding at a certain date upcoming, and you have questions about how to offboard, when you get the information in your email, your specific notice of RIF, if you have questions, please contact offboarding@gsa.gov. And as Jen said, you can contact one of us personally, jennifer.pacifico@gsa.gov, stephanie.elwood@gsa.gov, for questions regarding the career transition services or, suggestions or recommendations. And those are the contacts that I have. And you will also see at the end of this presentation all of the benefits and retirement contacts that service specific areas of the agency. So with that introduction of information, I'll pass it over to Sandy.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Jen. So just before we get started, I just wanted to kind of share some, I guess, housekeeping information with you. Today's session will be a live streaming session. The presentation hopefully will answer a lot of the commonly questions that you all have had. I know some of you have put in the chat about questions that you have sent to the RIF email box that has yet to be answered. Please rest assured that the emails will be answered. We have received hundreds, close to 1,000 email messages in the RIF box already, and there is a small team of us working through in answering questions received in that mailbox. So we will definitely respond to your questions submitted to that email box. For today's session, closed captioning is available on Google Meet live stream. If you select the closed captioning icon, it's located at the bottom of your live screen. The image at the bottom of the screen here, and above the yellow arrow, that is the closed captioning icon. So click on that for closed captioning. We will be taking questions during the session, and you can either ask your questions or type your questions in the Q&A box. And to turn on the Q&A feature, you can do so by selecting the shapes icon to the far right corner of your screen, highlighted above the green arrow at the bottom of the screen here. Click on that and select Q&A, and that'll bring you to the Q&A section. Please note that all live stream chats are recorded in the session archives. And before we get started, we encourage you to ask. The session is for you. Hopefully, we will be able to answer all of your questions. But if we're not able to, we will definitely get back to you with answers to your question. With that being said, we would like for a way for us to capture your email addresses for us to respond to you post session, right? So if everybody can in the Q&A, please provide us your email addresses. This will allow us to be able to continue to communicate with you after the session. And then also one final note is, we will be sharing the slide deck. Actually, Gretchen, if you haven't already done so, please upload the link to the slide deck for the participants. If you have difficulty opening the slide deck, please let us know and provide us your email address, and we can definitely send you a copy of the slide deck after the meeting today. And then one final note, if you, I know a lot of you have a lot of questions, but this is a live stream being broadcast to a lot of people. So please keep your questions general. If you have specific questions, please, as Stephanie mentioned, email us at the rif@gsa.gov email box. Okay. With that, then we can go ahead and dive into our session. This is the agenda for today's session. We will cover the RIF and potential outcomes, the effects of benefits in separations, and then we will dedicate about a good portion of today's session to answering your questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra Jenkinson to go over the information.
Thank you, Sandy. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra Jenkinson. I am currently serving as the acting director of the Benefits and Retirement Center. Sandy Dew is actually our agency benefits officer. And during the Q&A in a bit, I will also be joined by Donald Washington, who is the branch chief of the Benefits and Retirement Center. So you have three of us here from the Benefits and Retirement team to answer your questions. We will try to get to as many of your questions as possible. We do or will receive a copy of all of the questions that are asked in the Q&A afterwards. So if we weren't able to answer your question during today's session, we still have a record of your question and we can reach back out to you afterwards. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. We are going to talk today about your benefits and your retirement options under RIF. I will, also, briefly mention, the DRP that is still open for this week, and the VERA opportunity the VERA VSIP opportunity that's still open for the remainder of this week. So we'll talk about, again, just what happens, what are your options, all your different options once you've received a RIF notice. And then, what happens to your benefits, whether you're retiring or maybe you're not eligible to retire and you need to know what's going to happen to your health insurance, your life insurance, those kinds of things as you're separating from service. So we will discuss all of those. And then again, we will have time to get to some of your questions as well. All right, so under RIF, the options are you're either retired or you're separated without retiring. And so we will talk about a discontinued service retirement specifically. I know you guys have probably heard VERA a time or two by now. So VERA and DSR are very similar, except that a VERA is a voluntary retirement, so that voluntary early retirement authority, and a discontinued service retirement is involuntary, meaning you were being separated, you aren't choosing to separate. So the requirements for VERA and DSR are very similar in that you have to be, age 50 with 20 years of service or any age and 25 years of service to be retired under the discontinued service retirement rules. Of course, if you meet eligibility to retire optionally, like let's say you're 62 and you have at least 5 years of service, then you're eligible to optionally retire. So that's obviously an option for you in facing RIF, is that you could just go ahead and retire, or you could, not retire and then face separation. So again, we'll talk about eligibility for the different options. So this slide just kind of in one snapshot explains what it takes to be eligible to receive an immediate annuity, right? So a retirement check. And so we'll just start at the top. So if your minimum age, if you're at least 62 years of age and you have at least 5 years of service, you're eligible to fully retire. That's an optional retirement, and it's called an immediate retirement. If you are at least age 60 and you have 20 years of service or more, then you are also eligible to retire. If you are at your minimum retirement age and you have 30 years of service, you're eligible to retire. And so if you don't know what your minimum retirement age is, this chart here on the right will explain to you what your minimum retirement age is. So for me, my minimum retirement age is age 57. So if I am age 57 and I have 30 years or more of service, then I am eligible to just retire without a VERA authority, without the discontinued service. I could just tomorrow decide that I want to retire. If I'm at my minimum retirement age and I have at least 10 years of service, I'm eligible for what's called an MRA plus 10 retirement. And we'll talk a little bit more about MRA plus 10 specific information that you may not be aware of, or just some reminders about maybe retiring under an MRA plus 10 provision. Any age in 25 or age 50 with 20 years of service. Those are the requirements to be eligible for a VERA, that voluntary early retirement authority, or the discontinued service retirement. So if you are at least age 50 and you have at least 20 years of service, you are eligible for a VERA. You're also eligible for a discontinued service retirement under RIF. If you are any age with 25 years of service, the same thing. You're eligible for a VERA, and you're also eligible for that discontinued service retirement under RIF. And I mention this again because I realize that the VERA VSIP window is still open and the DRP window is still open. And so if you're considering, am I eligible for a VERA under DRP, or am I eligible for a VERA and VSIP payment under the current open VERA VSIP window? If you are any age of 25 years of service or more, or you're at least age 50 and have at least 20 years of service, you are eligible to take advantage of that VERA VSIP, or to opt into the DRP 2.0 program with a VERA. You can also opt into DRP, of course, if you're eligible to retire without the VERA, or if you just are wanting to resign under DRP. So, okay, so we get a lot of questions in the benefits and retirement section regarding severance pay. And I will tell you that for the most part, our office, we're not really involved in deciding, or not deciding, but in determining eligibility for severance pay. There is a team that is working on that. And so when you have those questions, again, that goes to the RIF inbox. I will tell you, and I'm obligated to tell you, that if you are eligible to retire, so Sandy, can you go up to the first slide before this, please? If you are eligible to retire under any of these provisions, 62 and 5, 60 and 20, MRA and 30, MRA and 10, any age in 25, any age in 20, or age 50 and 20, if you are eligible for any of those types of retirements, you are not eligible to receive a severance pay. So it's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that you have to retire. You can choose not to retire, but if you're eligible to retire, that makes you ineligible for a severance payment. So, okay, Sandy, thank you. Next slide. And next slide. Okay, so that MRA plus 10. MRA plus 10 means that I'm at my minimum retirement age. So again, I said for me, that's age 57. I have at least 10 years of service, but maybe I don't have 20 years of service to be eligible for that VERA, right? I'm still eligible to retire because I'm at my minimum retirement age with at least 10 years of service. However, if I retire under an MRA plus 10 and I only have, maybe I have 18 years of service and I'm age 57, my annuity is going to be reduced 2% a year for every year that I'm receiving my annuity before the age of 62. And so for some of us, that can be a pretty heavy reduction to your annuity, and that is a permanent reduction. It doesn't go away once you reach age 62, right? And so, we may choose to what we call postpone receiving that MRA plus 10. So if I'm 57 and I have 18 years of service, and I know that my annuity is going to be reduced because I don't have 30 years of service, or I'm not age 62 yet, I don't want to take my retirement right away. And I'm talking for me personally. I maybe don't want to take my retirement right away. I'm eligible for it. I've earned my pension, but I don't want to take that reduction. So I'm going to wait until I'm age 62 to file for that retirement. And if I do that, then that age reduction goes away. And then I get my full unreduced annuity beginning at age 62. So the thing to know about that is if you postpone your MRA plus 10, number one, first and foremost, you're still eligible to retire. So postponing your MRA plus 10 does not now make you eligible for severance because you are still eligible to retire. But what that does mean is that your separation from GSA, if you're postponing your MRA plus 10, your separation from GSA is going to be a either separation under RIF or a resignation if you're taking the DRP, or a resignation if you're taking the VSIP payment. And then when you're ready to start receiving your retirement pay, you're going to file your retirement application directly with the Office of Personnel Management. I recommend doing that within about 60 days days before you expect your annuity to begin. So maybe 60 days before your 62nd birthday, if that's how long you're going to delay taking that MRA plus 10. So I just wanted to point that out, that you can postpone your MRA plus 10 retirement because you're fully eligible to retire. You're just delaying or postponing or even erasing that age reduction by postponing it until, age 62. And if you do that, then you don't need to submit a retirement application to us, because we won't be the ones processing your retirement application if you're choosing to postpone your MRA plus 10 retirement. Now, if you were taking an MRA plus 10 retirement and you want to start drawing that annuity immediately, then you will file your retirement application through FedHR prior to turning in your equipment and leaving the agency. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to talk about, again, benefits and all, sick leave, annual leave, health insurance, life insurance, the things, that happen, what happens to them as you're separating service. So for everyone, your annual leave will be paid out to you. It will be paid out to you when your actual separation action is processed from the agency. And so for some of you, that will be right away. If you are separated under RIF and you do not enter into the DRP, or, you're not taking that VERA VSIP option, or that VERA or VSIP option, and you're just being separated under RIF, whatever that release date is on your RIF notice. And for all of you, it's going to be a different date, right? Like not all the dates are going to be the same, depends on, where you worked and, when they received notice and all of those things. And so your separation date is what guides your annual leave payout. And so once you're actually separated, so if you're entering into DRP and your separation date is September 30th, or your retirement date is December 31st, after that date, the actual separation date is when your annual leave will be triggered to be paid out to you. Your sick leave balance does not get paid out to you. Your sick leave balance becomes part of your service history once you're retiring. And so if you're retiring, then whatever sick leave numbers you have on the books on the day of your retirement, that gets converted into service credit and counts towards your retirement annuity. If you're not retiring, then that sick leave stays in your sick leave bank. And, for instance, you may come back to civil service at some point in the future. And so if you do, then your sick leave is restored to you. If you, happen to take another federal job 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever the case might be, 3 years from now, your sick leave balance will be restored to you. But for those of you that are retiring, your sick leave gets added into your service credit before we compute the amount of your annuity. Next slide, please. Okay, so health insurance. What happens to my health insurance when I'm separating? Health insurance, it depends on how you're separating, right? So if you are not retiring, then your FEHB will continue for 31 days post-separation date. And so if you're going to be separated on the day, your release date on your RIF notice, then 31 days after that, for 31 days following that separation date, you'll have free FEHB coverage. If you are entering into the DRP and your separation date is September 30th, then for 31 days after September 30th, you will have FEHB continued at no cost to you. After that 31 days, you are eligible to enroll in what we call temporary continuation of coverage, or TCC. You have 60 days from your date of separation to enroll in TCC if you need your FEHB to last longer than that 31 days of free coverage. You can keep TCC for up to 18 months. The only caveat there is that once you enter into TCC coverage, then you are responsible to pay the agency's portion, the employee portion, plus a 2% administrative cost. And so 102% of the cost during your TCC enrollment time. If you do need to enroll in TCC, then you'll reach out to your benefits and retirement team and submit your standard form 2809 to them to make that TCC enrollment. If you're retiring your FEHB continues with you into retirement. If you're retiring under VERA, or if you are retiring with a VSIP payment, and you don't have the 5 years of FEHB coverage to continue FEHB into retirement, one of the rules of FEHB is that you have it for the 5 years leading up to retirement, right? So if you're retiring under VERA with a VSIP or with a VSIP payment, then that 5 years is waived. That 5-year requirement is waived as long as you're currently enrolled. And also if you are retiring under discontinued service retirement, so 50 years and 20 years, or 50, 20 years of service, any age and 25 years of service. If you're retiring under the discontinued service retirement provisions, that 5 years is also waived. If you are retiring optionally, let's say you're 62 and you have 5 years of service, or you don't have that 20 years for VERA authority or DSR. If you were at your minimum retirement age and you have 10 years of service, you do need to meet that 5-year requirement to be eligible to continue your FEHB into retirement, unless you're entering and taking that VSIP payment. So if you're just retiring optionally, you do need to meet the 5-year requirement. But if you are retiring under the VERA authority, the VSIP authority, or discontinued service retirement, then the 5 years is waived as a requirement for FEHB continuation. And I hope I didn't just muddy that up even more for you. We will answer questions if you have them. Next slide, please. Okay, so your life insurance, there is no waiver for the 5-year requirement for life insurance to continue into retirement. So if you are retiring, whether it's a discontinued service retirement, a VERA, regular retirement, whatever life insurance you would like to continue with you into retirement, you had to have been enrolled in that life insurance for the 5 years leading up to retirement. If you are separating and you're not retiring, then your life insurance will continue for 31 days at no cost to you. And after that 31 days, you are eligible to convert either all or part of your life insurance into an individual policy. Your separation packet that you receive with your final SF50 will have conversion information included, so you can make a choice on whether or not you want to convert any portion of your life insurance into an individual policy if you're not retiring. Again, if you are retiring, part of your retirement application is to complete a standard form 2818, and that is your elections of how much of your life insurance you want to take into retirement with you. So that's just part of the retirement process. Next slide, please. Okay, dental and vision. If you're retiring and you are enrolled in dental and vision, then your dental and vision can continue with you into retirement. There is no 5-year rule for dental and or vision coverage. So if you have it, you can keep it into retirement. If you're separating and you're not retiring, your dental and vision coverage will end upon your separation. There is no conversion. There's no temporary continuation of coverage. There's no 30 days of free coverage. Your dental and vision will end upon your separation. But if you're retiring, you can choose to keep your dental and vision with you into retirement. Next slide. Okay, flexible spending account, that will end upon your separation, whether it's retirement or otherwise. Your FSA will end, so you can't claim any expenses after your date of separation, but you can claim any expenses up into your date of separation. So if you enter into the DRP and your separation date is September 30th, you can continue to incur expenses towards your FSA up until September 30th. Next slide, please. Okay, thrift savings plan. So for those of you that enter into the DRP, you will, be on administrative leave for a certain amount of time, whether it's, because you're resigning or you're retiring under the DRP. I just want to note that during the time that you're in administrative leave, you're still contributing to TSP. The agency is still matching your contributions into TSP. None of that changes while you're on administrative leave. But once you separate, you're no longer eligible to continue contributing into TSP. So then you will work directly with TSP on what your options are for withdrawal, and any penalties that might be assessed depending on your age. You'll deal all of that through through TSP directly. We don't have any visibility or oversight on your TSP. We just include this slide for your informational purposes. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are my options? So your options are you can enter into the DRP, then that window closes on 4/18. And so even if you've already received a RIF notice and you have a release date, you are eligible to opt into DRP and stay on the rolls. If you're resigning, you'll stay in administrative leave until no later than September 30th, even if you've already received a release date. With your RIF notice. If you opt into DRP, then that release date on your RIF notice no longer applies and you can stay in administrative leave until September 30th. If you're retiring under DRP, you can stay in administrative leave up until December 31st. So again, whatever notices on whatever release dates on your RIF notice, if you enter into DRP and you're choosing to retire, you can stay in administrative leave up and until December 31st, in which your retirement date will become effective December 31st. If you want to opt into the VSIP authority, that window also closes on April 18th. That $25,000 payout to coincide with either your retirement or your resignation. You must agree to either resign or retire by May 3rd in order to accept that VSIP payment. The VERA Early Retirement Authority, we do have open VERA authority, even for those that are, wanting to enter into DRP. If, you're eligible for a VERA, you can choose to enter into DRP/VERA or DRP/regular retirement or DRP/resign. For those of you that have RIF notices, if you're eligible for a discontinued service retirement, you get to decide if you accept if you take the VERA or the discontinued service retirement, right? And so if you've already chosen maybe a VERA and now you've done some research and you think a discontinued service retirement is more beneficial to you, that's fine. We will process your retirement as a discontinued service retirement. Your date of retirement must coincide with the separation date that's on your RIF notice. And we also need a copy of that RIF notice in order to process your retirement as a discontinued service retirement. But if you've elected VERA, we will process your retirement as a VERA. Again, remember, a VERA is voluntary and a discontinued service retirement is considered an involuntary separation. And so there are, different benefits, if you will, associated with like reemployment when you talk about a discontinued service retirement versus a voluntary early retirement. And so that is something to think about and discuss with your benefits counselor. If you're on the fence about whether, you're going to go the VERA option or the discontinued service retirement option. So those are the options. Again, you can just be separated under RIF if you're not eligible to retire at all, or again, you can enter into the DRP or the VERA VSIP, but just understand the off-the-rolls dates associated with the different choices here. The last week, there was about 2 informational sessions that were recorded for benefits and retirement, and what is RIF, what is DRP, what is the VERA VSIP option. It was a really good informational session. If you didn't have an opportunity to sit through that, the recording will be coming out soon for that. But also the slides are available. There's a link here to review the slides from that previous session. There's a lot of really good information about eligibility for, the DRP, the VERA VSIP, how to opt in to those programs. So review those slides if that's something that you're, really considering and interested in participating in. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next couple slides, again, is just going to summarize what I talked about. I did briefly see a question pop up on the screen, so I want to talk about that FERS annuity supplement, right, with retirement. And so if you choose to retire, or if you're retiring under a discontinued service retirement, or if you're retiring under VERA, because they're both the same in this regard, if you are not yet at your minimum retirement age, the FERS annuity supplement is not payable to you until you reach your minimum retirement age. So if you are age 50 and you have 20 years of service and you're retiring under a VERA or under the discontinued service retirement, then your FERS annuity supplement will begin when you reach your minimum retirement age. So remember, there's a slide that tells you what your minimum retirement age is. Whatever that day is that you reach your minimum retirement age, that's when you'll become eligible and will start receiving automatically from OPM that FERS annuity supplement. You don't need to apply for it later. It's something that will be added to your retirement once you reach your minimum retirement age. Sandy, you can go through the next couple of slides. Again, everyone's, you're going to have access to these slides. So you'll be able to come back here for some references. There is a severance pay estimation worksheet. It's honestly relatively easy to figure out or to calculate your severance pay using that worksheet. I did it myself just like a week or so ago. It really is easy to navigate for that estimation worksheet for severance pay. Again, just a reminder that if you're eligible to retire, you're not eligible for severance, even if you choose not to retire. If you are retiring, please submit your retirement application through FedHR Navigator. You can also use the FedHR Navigator to run retirement estimates for yourself, so you can see the different scenarios. If I retire now versus, if I retire December 31st under DRP, what's the difference to my annuity? You'll be able to see that by running those mock scenarios under FedHR Navigator. And again, there's another link to the information on how to apply for or opt into the DRP or the VERA VSIP. Next slides. The next slides are specific for the benefits and retirement team. Depending on where you work, and the first initial of your last name determines who your benefits and retirement specialist is. If we can help you or be of assistance to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. That is all the information that I have prepared. I guess it's time for Q&A.
So Sandra, there's a lot of questions in the Q&A pod. So there's one, I think there might be some confusion. Maybe you can help clarify. Someone asked, if you are opting into DRP2 and VERA retirement and you receive your official RIF letter, will your VERA retirement annuity be calculated based on your standard RIF SCD from your RIF letter or your adjusted RIF SCD from your RIF letter?
No, because at the time that you're entering into DRP, RIF is stopping for you. And so once you entered into DRP, RIF is no longer a factor because you are voluntarily choosing to retire. Either by December 31st or before, right? And so your retirement SCD isn't going to change based on anything in your RIF notice. Because RIF stops for you and you're taken off the retention register once you enter into DRP, because now you're no longer being involuntarily separated. You are now voluntarily retiring by the end of the year.
Okay, and then along that same line, somebody else asked, can you change your retirement from VERA to DSR if you decide not to take the DRP?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you choose not to take the DRP and you're choosing to then be separated under a discontinued service retirement, if you have already submitted your retirement application, please add your RIF notice to your retirement application and send us a note in FedHR that you are or that you're choosing a discontinued service retirement, with the understanding you also then need to change your date of retirement on your application to reflect the release date that's on your RIF notice. If you've already submitted a VERA application, assuming that you were going to opt into DRP and then now you've decided not to do that, just make sure that your date of retirement is on or before your release date that's listed on your RIF notice, and upload a copy of that RIF notice into FedHR for us so we can process it under discontinued service retirement.
Great. And actually, the same individual has a second question or a second part to the question. Can you be considered for ICTAP if you take the DRP or VERA?
Okay, so I can't speak to that because I don't
Well,
I don't know. Go ahead, Sandy.
actually, I can probably take that one. So actually, no. For if you take the DRP or the VERA, those are voluntary actions. The CTAP, ICTAP are for individuals who are impacted by RIF, right? So if you separated due to RIF, or if you took the discontinued service retirement, then those would be situations where you would be eligible for consideration under CTAP and ICTAP.
Great. Thank you, Sandy. I did just briefly see a question pop up on if we could share how to submit your application in FedHR. Please go back and review the slides that are linked here from last week's sessions for the DRP and the VERA VSIP informational sessions, because we did a walkthrough and there are screenshots on how to, there are screenshots in the slide deck on how to submit your application in FedHR. And Donald did, during the recording, you'll see Donald did actually go through and mimic submitting a retirement application and processing a retirement estimate. But there are screenshots in that slide deck from last week. So please make sure you go out and view those.
Thank you, Sandra. There's another question here. If an individual is being separated under RIF, and they're the primary, employee that's carrying the health insurance plan, but their spouse, who is still employed with the federal government, is not being RIFed, when does the spouse need to pick up the health insurance?
Sure, that's a really good question. Okay, so qualifying life event is loss of coverage. And so if you are carrying health insurance and you are losing your position and therefore also losing the health insurance, because your health insurance is going to end when you separate, then that loss of coverage becomes the qualifying life event. So your spouse, if they are also a federal employee, they can enroll, as you are losing coverage. And so we do, because it's two FEHB plans, we need to make sure that, one spouse is dropping, or it's dropping from one spouse on X date, and the very next day it's being picked up by the current, or the spouse that's going to remain as a federal employee. So send us your standard form 2809 as your coverage is ending. You can send that to us through FedHR, and just, the spouse that's picking up the coverage should be the one submitting the 2809 with, a note that, your coverage is ending under your employment, on X date, or your release date under RIF is X date, so that we can make sure we get the effective dates right.
Great. So there's another question pertaining to the MRA plus 10. If a person qualifies for this type of retirement, does it mean that this person is not eligible for severance?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, an MRA plus 10, even though it could be a reduced benefit, it is considered an immediate annuity, meaning that you'd start receiving retirement pay right away. And for that reason, it's on the list of exemptions for qualifying for severance pay. So yes, if you're eligible for MRA plus 10, you are not eligible for severance pay.
Great. And there are a lot of, I'm seeing a lot of questions here about individuals finding that their information is incorrect. If depending on what it is, if let's say your service computation date is incorrect, please reach out to your servicing HR specialist and they can walk you through and assist you in getting that information reviewed and corrected. If you have questions still about severance pay, you have a particular situation you want to run by us, send those questions to the rif@gsa.gov mailbox. So there is one other question here. What is the process if you do not take VERA or the DRP by April 18th and you qualify for early retirement? How is DSR processed?
So we need you to submit your retirement application in FedHR. And so you'll go into FedHR. There's a menu on the left-hand side of the screen. You're going to click on Initiate Retirement Application. You're going to answer a lot of questions. As you answer the questions on the screen, your retirement application is self-populating. Once you've answered all of the questions, you'll have the opportunity to review the forms themselves. You will need to make sure the forms are signed. Once you sign the form, go up to the top of the form and click Save. After you've saved all of the forms and they are all signed, you will click on Next. You will have the opportunity to submit additional documentation. Additional documentation, if you are taking a discontinued service retirement, that additional documentation must include your RIF notice. We must see your RIF notice. We have to provide that RIF notice with release date 2 OPM to process your application as a discontinued service retirement. If you're married, you'll also need to provide a copy of your marriage certificate. If you have military service that you've made a deposit for, or if you're receiving military retirement pay, there's additional information or additional documents that you need to submit with your retirement application. Once you've attached all documents, you will click Submit on your retirement application. When you have successfully submitted your application in FedHR, you are provided a claim number. When you get to that claim number, that's how you know you have been successful in submitting your retirement application to our office. You'll have that claim number. But the short answer is please submit a copy of your RIF notice so that we can process your application as a discontinued service retirement.
Great. I'm going to throw this next question to Jen and Stephanie. There's a lot of questions in the chat about the CTAP ICTAP session. Jen and Steph, do you want to let everyone know when that session may be?
Yes, so we will be offering a navigating employment rights training information session, and that will be in April. So we're looking at the last 2 weeks of April. So it could be as early as next week or the following, but we will be offering a monthly benefits information session and a monthly navigating employment rights session. And it will be the same exact link that you hopped onto today.
Great, thank you, Jen. And I have this question might be best for Donald. FedHR Navigator says that I am eligible to retire when I click on the Initiate Retirement Application link. According to the criteria for retirement, I don't meet eligibility. Why does HR Navigator say that I am? So the individual is over 50 but has less than 15 years of service.
I answered that question in the chat.
But,
But
okay.
if he get the history wasn't built, so he's good. He's still not eligible.
Okay, thank you, Donald. But that's a good segue. A lot of times is when you HR Navigator is great. It allows you to run multiple estimates or different scenarios for yourself to see what your estimated annuity would be. But please do verify the service, and if anything looks incorrect, then please reach out and let us know. Great, thank you. Um, I just lost my place in in the Q&A session here. There are a lot of questions here. We will try to answer as many as we can, but we will receive a transcription of all the questions. So rest assured, if we are not able to answer your questions during the session today, we will get an answer to your question after this session. Okay, I think there was a general question about time cards. I lost my place now, but I think just from memory, I think it says employees who have been placed on admin leave have been advised not to go into HR links. And I think the question was, how can you ensure that admin leave it has been posted for you until or through your departure date? So I know individuals who took the DRP one. Those individuals are on admin leave, and there's a process that has been updated recently where the individuals we will automatically overlay the administrative leave on your time and leave record. So you do not need to log on to HR links to post these times or submit your time cards. They will be automatically done for you. Hopefully I answered those questions. And on the panel, if anybody else has any other information to share, please feel free to chime in.
Okay, Sandy, I'm just going to jump in real quick. For those of you that are wanting to opt into either the Vera VSIP option or the DRP, if you are unable to open up the Google's Doc to opt in, you can send an email. If you're opting into DRP 2.0, you can send an email to that deferred resignation program at gsa.gov with your, obviously your name, your personal email address, your GSA email address, and what your choice is. Are you choosing to resign with an off the rolls date no later than 9/30? Are you choosing to retire with an off the rolls date no later than December 31st? Are you retiring with a Vera? So that information can be sent just via email, even if you can't open that Google Doc. So you can send an email to deferred resignation program at gsa.gov to opt in without that Google Doc. So all is not lost if you're not able to open it. And the same with the Vera VSIP. If you're opting into the Vera or the VSIP payment, you can send an email directly to vera.vsip@gsa.gov if you're not unable to opt in using that Google Doc. And I do want to reiterate, I saw a couple of questions pop up. If you're eligible to retire now, let's say you are wanting to enter into the DRP. If you're eligible to retire now, does that mean you can still, stay in admin leave until 12/31? Yes, absolutely. Regardless of your eligibility today or when you become eligible, as long as you are eligible to retire by December 31st, you can opt into DRP 2.0 and be placed in administrative leave up and until December 31st, even if you're already eligible to retire. I did see that question a couple of times. So regardless of if you're eligible now or not, you can still choose up until December 31st to be your date of retirement under the DRP.
Great. There's a couple of questions on health benefit here. The first one is, will our health benefit coverage cancel automatically after 31 days if we don't elect TCC?
Yes, it will. So when your separation is processed from the agency, your health insurance carrier is notified that you've separated from the agency and you're not retiring. So your coverage will end after 31 days unless you enroll in TCC.
Great. And then another one on that same topic. If you choose DRP, Vera, will health insurance coverage continue for children under the age of 26?
Yes, your coverage continues as it is. Whoever's on your plan remains on your plan. Whatever coverage you currently have stays your coverage unless you make it a change to it during a qualifying life event. So yes, whoever's on your plan now remains on your plan.
Okay, there's a question here on the flexible spending account. What happens if your flexible spending account balance is less than what you've contributed by the time you're separated?
Well, then you don't have to contribute anymore and all is forgotten and forgiven.
And then just to reiterate, someone asked, or I guess asked to confirm that we can't pay to extend the dental and vision, and that's correct. Okay, what happens to the retirement of people over 50 and with more than 15 years in the government? Can we get retirement at age 62?
So you can, and so as long as you have at least 5 years of civilian service, you are eligible for a retirement. And so that retirement might not start until you're age 62, if that's all you have. If in this example, if you're age 50 and you only have 15 years of service, that's still your 15 years of service, and you've still earned a pension for that 15 years. And you could start collecting that pension at age 62 by filing directly with OPM.
And thank you, Sandra. Some of you are asking for links to the calculators, both the federal FedHR Navigator as well as the severance pay worksheet. Those links are provided at the end of the slide deck. So if you have access to the slide deck, you should be able to click on the links to access those tools. Okay.
Real quick, I saw the question pop up. If you enter into DRP, are you eligible for a VSIP payment? And the answer is no. It's one or the other. If you want the VSIP payment, you have to be off the rolls no later than May 3rd, or you can enter into DRP and be off the rolls as late as either 9/30 or 12/31, depending on if you're resigning versus retiring. But you cannot receive a VSIP payment if you enter into the DRP.
Okay, I think we may have time for one or two more questions. The one question here, so if you choose DRP and choose to wait to retire after your separation date, does that mean you don't continue health insurance?
I'm assuming that you're postponing your MRA plus 10, or you're just resigning and filing later for retirement. If you are eligible to retire on your date of separation, so let's say you have that MRA plus 10, or maybe you're 62 and have 5 years of service, you're just not ready to retire yet. When you separate from service, your health insurance will end after 31 days. And if you had your FEHB coverage for the 5 years leading up to your date of separation, then when you file for retirement, if you're already eligible for retirement on your date of separation, so again, 62 and 5, 60 and 20, MRA plus 10, if you're eligible to retire on the date of separation, but you choose to retire later, your health insurance and life insurance will be reinstated once you start receiving your annuity payment from OPM. But in the meantime, you will have a break in FEHB coverage and dental vision coverage. So it will end when you separate, but it'll be reinstated when you file for retirement later.
Okay. I think there are a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to get through all of them today, but like we said, we will get a transcript of all the questions asked today, and we'll definitely reach back out and provide you with the answers to these questions. With that being said, then I think we will close the session. Jen and Steph, do you have any last minute reminders for anyone?
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. And thank you, Sandra. We appreciate you getting on today, providing this information to everyone. We will be sending out, like I said, this information session will continue monthly. So if you have questions, they'll be looking for the transcripts, but also you will be able to send questions prior to the next information session to the RIF email box. So we'll have them in advance and be able to try and address as many questions as we can in the presentation. So keep an eye out for that information. And as I said earlier, in the month of April, we will be offering a Navigating Your Employment's Right session that will talk about ICTAP, CTAP, RPL, resume, federal resume tips. And so please look out in your email for that as well. That will be coming out in the very near future. And we will again log on through this same exact link. Anything else you'd like to add, Steph?
Yes, I would like to say that we are recording the Q&A. So some of the ones that maybe we haven't seen before or aren't part of the, the Q&A sheets that we've provided, we're going to be able to take them and add them to our RIF Q&As or DRP Q&As and things like that. So keep looking at those as they come out in your emails, because it's not always going to be the same document that you got last time. So continue to look at those.
Okay, I have an alibi. One last thing. For those of you that are not eligible to retire, but you have at least 5 years of service and you plan on filing for retirement at age 62 with OPM, your retirement will be based on how many ever years of service and your high 3 average salary as of your date of separation. So if you're 62 with 5 years of service, your annuity will be based on 5 years of service and your high 3 as of your date of separation.
Thank you, Sandra. We appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for calling in today. We hope this was a beneficial session for you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good rest of your day.